My practice is paradoxically more stable than most of these big hospital system or large private practice contracts. Doesn't seem like it would be, but I get my revenue from a lot of different sources, different, and if one of them goes down, it's not a big deal. Meanwhile, if you're working for these companies, there's so many mergers and acquisitions, and there's so much political fighting that you may find these big system jobs are really stable right now, to be honest with you.
One of the ways I like to look at entrepreneurship, it's like in your position, you have to have, I don't know how many patients, but like they all have to fire you. Like they all have to stop working with you for it to be a big, huge blow up. Versus at the hospital, like usually one person can make that call.
Oh my God.
And
Yeah,
that's pretty scary.
it is super scary. And it can be, you could be a good doctor. And
Yeah.
if you're just not productive enough, if you're not the surgeon who's cutting on to every single thing that walks in, they're going to be not happy with you. But maybe you're a really good doc who still does a lot of surgeries. You're just not as productive as the doc down the hall who's lauded for just doing surgery on anything that has a pulse.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of other dynamics. I could tell you stories too. It can be, I'm not saying always, it can be really bad.
Yeah. Would you say you were always an entrepreneur? Like if I was asking you in residency or fellowship or something, like would you have said you were an entrepreneur then?
No, I wouldn't have said I was an entrepreneur. I never had a chance to.
Yeah.
Once I started, for me, I'm like, oh my gosh, I love this. This is like a natural rhythm of my life.
Yeah.
Feels like the right stride and pace and everything. So I really love entrepreneurship, but I didn't know until I started. And not everybody's like that. I get that. But I think for me, it's like a means to have control and autonomy over my life is by also being an entrepreneur and putting work into that.
Yeah. One of the things I love about entrepreneurship is it seems to align more with, or like you're incentivized kind of to like do self-development. It's like the things you need to develop to be a good entrepreneur are also good life skills, like failing, screwing, having mistakes. Like in entrepreneurship, mistakes are positive. Like it's like learning, failing forward. In the real world, that's kind of how it is too. I know in medicine, a lot of times, like it's not looked at that. You have to have high expectations and it's more like perfection is the target. But in entrepreneurship, there's a lot of skills and you have to develop, you have to market yourself and be able to sell the services and grow a business and handle the finances. The financial part is one of the biggest things. Like you're kind of forced to be thrown into the financial aspects when you run a business. You have to know baseline financials. Like you got to keep the books and you can't really hire everything out, right?
No. Yeah. I mean, like for me, I remember at one point, I'm like, I've got all these money that people owe me on this piece of paper. I'm like, maybe I should put it in an Excel spreadsheet. And I'm like, oh, there's my accounts receivable, right? That I
Right.
now had for years. That's fine. There's figuring it out for sure. There's making that didn't work. I'm not going to do that again. And with me figuring out how the heck do I market myself, I found out who the good referral sources are and who's not. And, I make
Yeah.
sure I develop the good relationships and the ones that don't refer, I don't. There's a lot of stuff I've had to figure out, but it's been enjoyable. Most of my reading has been like behavioral psychology lately, which I
Right.
think is the best for small business. I would advocate against an MBA, at least for small business. I don't think if you want to
Yeah.
work in the corporate bowels somewhere or you want to make really good connections to possibly get a good job in business, then MBA can be helpful. But for running small business, I think it can be detrimental because I think everything is focused on human relations and things that not just boiling everything down to numbers. So that's my 2 cents about that. But yeah, I think failing is okay in entrepreneurship. Yes, but then there's the medicine side. Like you don't want to do that. You are aiming for perfection. You try to do the best possible standard of care job you possibly can every single time. But with entrepreneurship, it's a little bit more. You're exploring. There's some level of exploration that you're
Yeah.
doing.
One of the best ways to market a business is to be different, like very unique and different. And your business is very unique and different. There's nobody now. In some ways, that can be a challenge early on because there's not any market awareness for it yet, or it's lower. So people are like, "What? What do you mean? Like I gotta pay? That's what my health insurance is for." But differentiation, you got that nailed. Like you're very
Yeah, I guess so.
you got some serious differentiators, which is really good typically for marketing. And that's the thing. Everybody's doing the same thing. That's no different.
I don't pay for marketing either too, so my marketing budget's 0. I do networking and then word of mouth at this point. So I
Mhm.
spent me taking someone out for lunch to me is I guess that's marketing dollars in a sense, but I'm not like big on advertising. That's just, it's such a black hole of money.
Yeah. The other thing, my experience of word of mouth marketing versus referrals, provider referrals, like or in a hospital referrals or whatever, like word of mouth marketing, you tend to get people you get along with or like you're in the same sort of values circle more often because you're typically being referred by somebody that you liked or they liked you and that also they like themselves. My experience has been that word of mouth referrals are far and away the best from a connection standpoint, not necessarily anything else, but just from a like connectivity standpoint, which is really good because that's one thing that I've heard a lot of physicians say too is they are like, it's very frustrating to work with patients that don't value what I do at all.
Oh yeah. It happens to me, but extremely rarely. Most of the time, if I'm seeing them, they have to decide whether I'm going to be valuable or not. So yeah, generally speaking, I don't want to work with anybody who doesn't value what I do. But that is extremely frustrating because they're
Mhm.
like, "Why am I seeing you? You're like all these problems. That's why you're seeing me." But to go back to word of mouth marketing, I think it's the most powerful and it's the least expensive, but it also takes the longest.
Yeah, it does
So it
take.
just takes a really long period of time. But once you get it going, it's solid, and that's also the problem with these employee jobs. If they boot you out of town with a non-compete, there goes all that goodwill that you've built up over the years.